Hello, welcome back to Full Time. I am Tamerra Griffin, and this week we are talking all things teal, baby. The NWSL Shield winning Kansas City Current and everything that they've accomplished this season, even going beyond that very shiny, very heavy, apparently, piece of hardware. We are exploring this team from top to bottom. We're chatting with Kansas City Current captain, Sally Queen, Lo LaBonta, reigning NWSL MVP, and current Golden Boot frontrunner, Temwa Chawinga, Kansas City Current general manager, Caitlin Carducci, and the owners of the team, Angie and Chris Long. Lots of rich conversations. And I think when you look at what this team has accomplished this season, building, of course, on a pretty successful last season, it's important to look at this from every perspective. So we're really thrilled to be able to talk to players as well as front office. And you guys, guess who's back? It has been a long month. And Meg, welcome back to the show. I have so many questions for you. Half of them have to do with soccer and the madness that you missed. Half of them have to do with baby stuff. But Meg is back. Welcome back to the show, Meg. How are you doing?
Hi. I'm
How's
good.
Life?
It's I'm sleep deprived in a way that I don't think I have been since college, and I was a serious procrastinator who would write every single paper the night before it was due.
Relatable.
That was my number one specialty. To be fair, I'm kind of the same way still with deadlines. Sorry to Emily Olsen. But yeah, I mean, it has been so interesting to try to stay kind of on top of what's happening and watch some games while also being I can let some of this go. I mean, I got probably 4,000 emails
wow.
just in the span of a month.
It was a busy. Mm-hmm.
It was a very busy month in the world of women's soccer. I feel like we have... at first I was maybe the whole episode just needs to be Tamerra tells Meg what happened.
Honestly.
It's here's what you missed on Glee. And then I was we don't have time for all that. And the KC Current have won the Shield. And okay, we're just launching right back into it. But Salem is so good. He's such a silly baby who can break through any swaddle ever invented. It's just been, newborns, man. It's a lot. It's a journey. But very cute.
Well, I have loved following the journey on social media. You look so happy despite the sleep deprivation. In a way, I think you can say that you've sort of maybe been training for it a little bit low key from your college days.
We have a senior dog too. So right. DeWitt would wake me up at 4 or 5 a.m. So there's at least been some it is so crazy that your brain just gets completely rewired for any sound of I need to be on alert. Is the baby awake? Does the baby need something? So, and the bassinet is on my side of the bed. So I am on call at all times. But yeah, hopefully at some point, I'm excited for Salem's neck to work the way human necks work. So
are you having to do that kind of where you have to hold it?
Yeah.
It looks dangerous, but it's actually so safe
it's
them.
very cute. But again, it's just, it's such a funny thing of being responsible for what is essentially a potato that needs to eat all the time.
Sentient potato.
So, yeah, pretty much.
Sweet sentient potato.
Yep.
Okay, one quick non-Casey question before we dive in, because the number of times, Meg, in the last month that you were gone, that I've been oh my God, the fingers were just burning to text you. But it was also not hard for me to not text you because I am so pro people being able to unplug no matter the circumstances when they're off. But I have been dying to know the one storyline that came across when you were gone that actually made your jaw drop the furthest to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few. There have definitely been a few. I mean...
You're which one should I even get into on the show?
I'm trying to also be diplomatic in terms of not tipping my hand of what I've been shocked by. But I do think, there's... Orlando's slide right at the moment is the thing that I have been most sort of from a purely NWSL standing sort of point of view where I've been trying to watch games. I'm not surprised Gotham has bounced back a little bit. I'm not surprised, I guess, that the Wave have kind of dropped off a little bit, that they overperformed first half of the season compared to what we all expected, and then they've kind of slid. But Orlando just kind of being in the wilderness right now, I think is really surprising and maybe an interesting thread just even before we hop into all things Kansas City, because, you know, we're looking at this Kansas City season and their Shield winning, and you think about the way that we talked about Orlando last year, right? And the way that these two teams were two teams that have, you know, set records and felt like these two kind of very dominant runs, but they feel pretty different from each other. And, you know, you think about how last year really became like the year of Marta. And very quick side note, the fact that Marta is not in the top 10 for Ballon d'Or, we'll put a pin in it because I think next week we're talking about awards, but like, I literally I wake up at 5 a.m. most mornings now, whether I want to or not. And the other day after, you know, the day after Ballon d'Or, I read your piece, but I just was sitting there thinking like how, for anyone who watched the Copa America final, how that woman was not in the top 10 of Ballon d'Or voting, and like, it's a crime. It's a crime against humanity. Anyway, we'll put that pin in it. But yeah, Kate, you know, Orlando just sliding, I think. I'm not watching full games generally, especially in that break. But, you know, I would tune in here or there, and I was just like, did they get space jammed? What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, another thing that these two teams, the Pride and the Current, have in common are like undisputable MVP caliber players. And so I think when you look at Barbara Banda's unfortunate season-ending injury and the performance, there is a clear line that that doesn't even need to be stated, which thankfully the Current have not had to worry about. And of course, we have our conversation with Temwa on this episode. But yeah, I mean, those are the moments where I love your philosophical MVP soliloquies.
Yeah, Theo was making fun of me in pre-production a little bit because he's like, that proves your MVP, the way that you approach MVP voting. And I was like, honestly, it kind of does, though.
Truly.
And, you know, I think, yeah, it has obviously, it's such a rough blow for Orlando, but I also think it's a rough blow for the NWSL just to not get that sort of
100%.
Barbara Banda versus Temwa, you know, versus Esther race that I think we were all expecting until the end of the season. So it sucks on multiple levels.
Yeah, completely agreed. It's a hole that can't really be filled because there's only one player like her. But as we've said, this week's episode is all about the KC Current. And honestly, this team has been sitting at the top of the table comfy for so long that it can be easy to sort of forget just how much they've accomplished, like statistically. So I think before we get into these interviews, we need to sort of summarize this so that you can get a clear picture of what this team has accomplished this season. We know this past weekend on Saturday that they won the NWSL Shield, but mind you, there are still 5 games left to go in the season. 17, 2-2, 53 points. The NWSL record is 60. You can do pretty simple, quick maths on that to show that they still have potentially more records to break this season. They've conceded the fewest goals with just 10.
That's a bonkers number. Like we just 10 goals through that number of games is absurd.
It is absolutely absurd, especially coupled with the fact that on the other end, they've also scored the most goals with 40.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm getting goosebumps just sort of like talking about this because, you know, I won't name the other leagues in which these numbers might not be as surprising because there is not as much parity as we have in this league. But given the fact that you will not meet a single team in this league who can name another team that they are guaranteed to win, that just makes these numbers even more impressive. They've broken the record for clean sheets with 14 and have 9 consecutive clean sheets as of this week. 812 minutes without conceding a goal. Like, it's kind of sickening. But I do think, like I said, these numbers are important context for the conversations that we have because KC Current, Meg, I think they're like the epitome of locked in right now in terms of NWSL teams.
Yeah, I keep going back to our season preview with Jill Lloyden for the East and her just kind of pointing at KC and being like, they're legit. And it is interesting, again, like in our pre-production meeting, Theo was at Summer Cup last year, right, out in Texas, and I think had really stressed at the time, like, they care about this trophy. And you know, we might look at Summer Cup and kind of be like, okay, it's this weird thing, right? Like, it's not it's not the profile of the NWSL Shield or the NWSL Championship, but that is maybe one of those pieces, right? Like, and as I think, I always think about teams that are either have lost the final and then are trying to go to the final next year, or in KC's case, watching the final play out in their building, right? And knowing, okay, that's the mountain that we need to climb in 2025, right? We didn't make it in 2024. We got to make it in 2025. There are just all of these like interesting little moments that I think have added up into the season. But you look at these numbers and they're just, yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting to see these next 5 games play out, to see if this is historically going to set a mark that's going to be, I would argue, maybe impossible to top.
Right. And when you think about the league as a whole, we were saying similar words last season about the pride, can another team do this? Can this same team do this? So from like a broad chaos perspective, I love this for all of us. And of course, we know the pride or the current are enjoying this moment too. All right. Before we get into these conversations, a huge thank you to everyone who writes to us, slides into our DMs with your questions, your thoughts, your feelings. We are at that point in the season where everything is appointment viewing, in my opinion. The popcorn needs to be popped, the snacks prepared, your favorite spot on like your couch, like warmed, because it's about to get even spicier than it already has been this season. So if you have not followed us on our socials at TA Fulltime on Instagram and TikTok, you can email us fulltime@theathletic.com with your KC current thoughts, with who you think might stand a chance against them as we head toward the postseason. I am really curious to hear how that goes because, like I said, the gap between them and even the number 2, number 3, number 4 teams just feels a little different. We are posting all kinds of videos. We post full episodes of this podcast on YouTube, so make sure that you're following us there if that's how you like to take in your podcasts. And hit us up because we love to hear from you. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, our conversation with Lo LaBonta and Temwa Chawinga. All right. It is our supreme pleasure to welcome to the show 2 stars of the Kansas City Current, forward Temwa Chawinga and midfielder Lo LaBonta. First of all, thank you for joining us. Second of all, congratulations on winning the 2025 NWSL Shield. Third of all, how are each of you doing today? Temwa, we'll start with you.
First of all, say thank you. And I'm doing all right. It was days raining outside, so I didn't go to training. We canceled, so I'm just home relaxing. And to start training tomorrow.
You're always relaxing, Temwa.
Got to relax so she could ball out on the field, I guess. Balance, right?
We're like, you rest as much as you want, you little Tem VP.
Lo, how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I'm the opposite of relaxing. I'm always doing things. So it was raining and I moved all my house plants outside so I didn't have to pay the water bill this month.
Love that.
But no, I stay busy.
Yeah,
yes.
work smarter, not harder. All right. Maybe we can start with a little, icebreaker, even though both of you have been on the show before, but we wanted to ask you what your favorite thing is about each other. So Lo, maybe, you just started Tem VP. What's your favorite thing about Temwa?
Wait, I have to give Temwa a compliment in front of her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's one of her favorite things to do.
Oh, no.
Who doesn't love that?
To humble her. I love to humble her. No, it's so easy. I mean, if we made a highlight reel of Temwa, it would be longer than the Star Wars series. All those movies together. Like, she is such a baller on the field, but to be honest, my favorite thing is about how humble she is. She used to drive 2 of our teammates to training, to and from every single day. Like, that's your MVP, just putting in the work for the team, being a good teammate. So, yeah, and Temwa, stop blushing.
Temwa, it's your turn, though. Now you get to say what your favorite thing about Lo is.
Okay, I can say like she's an amazing person. Since I come here in USA, like I play a lot of teams like in China, but I've never like meet captain like the way I meet Lo. Like she take care of me every single moment, like in the field, in the training. If I make mistakes, she come up to me humble to tell me that this league is like this. Like last year, she explained to me a lot of things about this league. So after that, like to me, I feel comfortable like maybe to have like captain like that, like maybe to treat me like that. I just take like my older sister, like maybe the way I'm here. she's like my older sister. Like maybe I should listen to her, like everything that she's telling me. I should just listen to her. Like my career can go well.
Okay, Temwa, but like how much older? Like a year or two, right? Not that much older. Yeah.
That's really cool, though. I'm sensing a lot of paying it forward. The way that you said Temwa used to pick up teammates and drive them to practice. There's a lot of similar themes of really caring for your teammates that Temwa also said of you. So very much seems to drive through the culture of the Current. Next question, we've already acknowledged the NWSL Shield that the Current won very early this season. But can each of you tell us what that means for the team and sort of take us to that moment Saturday night when the Shield was clinched? I mean, we saw the jubilations from TV, but what was it like to sort of be on the field in the huddles in the middle of all of the celebrations? Temwa, we can start with you.
Okay, to me it means a lot. Like this is my second year like to play in NWSL, so to achieve this thing like so amazing to me. Like we work hard as a team, like to take this charity shield. Like last year, we want last year to win, but it didn't go to our way. After that, this year we come back, start preseason, we start discussing like each players, like maybe Lo, like Vanessa, start talking like in the group and the team, like this year we should take a charity shield. Like so to me, I'm so happy. Like maybe we take this charity shield, and the way like we take like, because we need just to thank the fans the way they come to our stadium to support us. Like we need like to give him something. Like last year we didn't give him anything, but this year we work hard like to give him something.
Yeah, for me, I wish I reposted the photo the other day, but Claire Hutton and I both jumped on Temwa.
I saw that photo.
And you guys, she could have carried us all the way across the field. That's how strong she is. She's so good.
She didn't look phased at all.
No, and she was smiling, and then everybody else came, and I was like, oh no, we gotta get down so we don't break our Tem VP. But I'm glad that Temwa mentioned Vanessa as well, because Vanessa and I have been in this league. Vanessa 11, she's going in her 12th season. I did 10 years, this is my 11th season, and we've never lifted the shield. So for that to happen, and I was told a story that when Vanessa was coming down the elevator to join us on the field, she was like, I've been waiting 11 years for that. And it just means so much to us, the pioneers of the league, to never have lifted a trophy like that. It meant so much, and to do it at home with all our friends and family and fans in the stands, it felt really good, you guys, like really good.
I can imagine. Lo, I want to rewind for a second with you, because I remember talking to Vlatko after he had been hired for the Kansas City Current. I know Steph Young, back when she was with us at The Athletic, had a whole article, and he was talking about how, he had all of these intro conversations with people like you and Vanessa, and about the culture of the team and what he wanted to bring to the team and how to manage people and how to get the best out of people. And I'm just wondering, like, do you remember that conversation, that first convo with him, and like how maybe that some of that conversation has carried itself through to this moment where you're finally lifting the shield with him?
Yeah, absolutely. So he loves to remind people that I've been on this team for so long. He's from the beginning. He just said it in a meeting like last week too. But so I've been a part of the culture, and one of the years our culture was the best on the team is when we went to the final 2 years ago, 3, whatever it is now. Mm-hmm. And the year after that, the locker room wasn't great. So when Vlatko came in and, was kind of cleaning house of some players, he was just like, what goes well? What do you guys want from a team? And we came up with some of these pillars, and they're not posted anywhere, but we say at the beginning of every single season, and we've bought in and lived by that from the get-go. And there was one point, there was a couple games ago, where we necessarily weren't living up to our own standard. And so the first meeting after the game, Vlatko brought it up and was like, remember what you guys wanted from the team. They weren't my rules, they were yours. I'm just holding you guys to that standard. And that's why I think this team is so humble, because every week we take it as a new game and we want to win that one. We're not, yes, obviously we want to win the Shield and playoffs and get home, but we're still focused on that one game. So believe me, if there's one person that's going to humble you, it's Vlatko. And that's why I think we've been so successful this season for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of smart to have you guys sort of create the receipts that he can then refer back to and say, is this what you wanted?
Yeah,
it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, because he doesn't even like yell at you. He just gives you like that parental disappointed talk.
Sometimes
like,
that's scarier.
That one hurts more, actually. Just yell at me and just tell me to go run.
Right. Let it out. That's really interesting. And sticking with Vlatko for a second, Temwa, I'm turning to you. You mentioned that this is only your second season in the NWSL, which is hard to believe given the impact that you've made in this league, not just with the current. But thinking about Vlatko, I'm curious if you can share with us sort of how you've seen your relationship with him from player to coach grow over the past 2 seasons. I mean, I think that I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say that after you scored your birthday goal this past weekend, the way that you ran to him to celebrate was really special. And then to hear him sort of share the story about how the bet that almost happened with him maybe dyeing his hair teal if you were to score with a header. For people who have been following Vlatko's career for, years prior to this, that was a lot of emotion and personality that he's shown that most people have not really seen before. And it seems like you are sort of bringing a little bit of that personality out of him. So I'm really curious from your perspective, what it's been like to play for him over the past 2 years and how you've seen him maybe change.
Since I know her, like the first time when I know Vlatko, it was like I was in national team, so we're talking Zoom meeting, like when he was telling me that I should come to the team, what. So it was me and my agent. So after that, I was not open up to Vlatko. I was just scared, but I don't know, like, which we'll see. When I come here, I see like the whole people, Vlatko, just technical panel stuff, like they're so nice to me. So after I open up to Vlatko a lot, like maybe we start talking in the training, maybe we joke a lot, like maybe it's like that kind of person. Maybe it's a coach, you respect her like a coach, but also like maybe joke with players a lot, like maybe you don't scare to joke with Vlatko like that. So it was like last season, he told me that if you go for a header, you score a lot of goals, but I've never scored for a header. So I said I would try my best. So this season, when he start again to tell me that last season didn't score. This season, you should try my best to score a header. So I said, all right, I will see. Each game, like maybe we are playing the game, he will tell me the same thing, I will not score for a header. Another game will come. So it was this game when they are in training, he started telling me that you should score a header. I said, all right. When I score a header, it means like we should make it a bet, like you will dye your hair. Like he said, you want to agree. After that, he said, no, I cannot just go ahead. After that, it's okay, like that. So I said, no, you should make a deal here. If I score ahead, you should dye your hair like that. So I said, no, Temwa, no, I'm not putting that bet with you. Just go ahead for me. After that, it's done. Like, just try your best. Yeah.
That is hilarious. And yeah. I really hope that he changes his mind because it's just the perfect end to the story.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like at some point you gotta just like escalate. I know like we've seen in F1, right? Like if someone wins a race, their team principal gets a tattoo. Like I think you gotta get something on the books with Vlatko of like, listen,
something he can't back out of.
Yeah, you just gotta find it. You just gotta find the weakness. Right? With some tiramisu.
Right, Temwa changes her hair color a fair amount. Well, since she's been here, she's had a few different colors, and I feel like every time she walks in with a new one, we immediately turn to Black and we're like, we bet if this happens, you will dye your hair that color. Like
so this is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, whatever color it is, we're like, Blacko, what if, will you? And he's like, let me think about it. No.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Is there anything you can think of that would convince him to do it? I mean, not to get too superstitious or anything, but you don't have to name it. But do you think that there is anything this team could achieve that would get him to dye his hair a non-natural, vibrant color?
Non-natural.
But I think when we take the playoff, I think I will challenge her again. Like maybe you should think like when the starting season, like we take the carb after that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
No, start the GoFundMe now.
Right? Yes. Even if it's like a temporary dye, like what you did in middle school when you would just spray.
The sprays.
We should do that. Or even if we just buy a bunch of like blue little like pixie cut wigs or something like that. Like we can get one of those on him for sure. If anyone, it has to be Temwa, because if I ask, he's immediately going to turn the other way. So it has to be Temwa to ask.
I love this brainstorming session. We got to speak it into existence.
Yeah. All right, let's reel it in for a minute, because I do want to talk to you about even just the concept of the Shield, because obviously the Shield, at least in my book, is still the hardest thing to win in the NWSL, right? And I think we saw last year with Orlando, there was maybe a little bit of pressure on that team, not just about the Shield, but about that perfect season, right? And obviously you tangled with Orlando. There's some history there. But for KC, I think that pressure in terms of that perfect season has been off because of the road losses. And so, Lo, maybe let's start with you. Like, does that give you a little bit of freedom of, okay, you can still pursue this bigger goal without feeling that sort of weight week by week of, we have all of these external pressures just kind of like surrounding us?
I would say we try and silence all the outside noise. So speaking of Vlaco, like Vlaco doesn't even have social media. So if there's some big issue or something that happens on Twitter or whatever, like a coach will have to have told him for him to really know what's going on. So the fact that we in-house just try and only listen to each other and execute a game plan, I wouldn't say we try and listen to, you know, the pressures from outside, because at the end of the day, we want to perfect our art, our game plan, and continue to grow in those areas. And we have metrics on our team that with in-house that we can measure each other with. So I don't want to say we do, like, obviously all the players are on social media. We know about it, we hear about it, but we're held to a different standard in-house. So I know for sure we don't even want to let a goal in the back of our net, because we've been doing so well with that. Like, I think that's the difference than last year as well. That's just one example. So I'm going to say, you know, again, bringing up Vlaco, no one's going to hold us to a higher standard. And that's how it is in the facility, in our home field. We have the first two playoffs at home. Hopefully we get to the second one too, but they're at home. And there's no place we love to play more than that. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think
that wasn't like a PR response. That's what it is.
Yeah, we want the real stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to think of any better motivation than playing at home when you're the current. But I'm glad, Lo, that you brought up defense, because to me, that has been an element of this team that maybe in terms of its impact, the narrative around Kansas City's defense was a bit quieter in the start of the season. But as the season has worn on, and as these sort of stats are beginning to emerge, fewest number of goals conceded out of every other NWSL team, the defense is becoming a little bit more of a main character, and rightfully so. So I'm wondering if you can each sort of, as people who are not defenders, but this is very much a team where everybody has the responsibility of defending, give the defensive efforts some flowers. What is it that makes the defense on this team so special? Temwa, we can start with you.
Okay, like when we're in training, like everyone work hard, like defenders work also hard, like maybe you should not like consider goals like that, because like we know, like us work hard, the midfielders, like defenders. So like it's all the team, like it's like in our blood in this team, like maybe to work hard, like maybe to not consider a lot of goals like that. So we are very happy, like maybe to have like a team like that, like maybe we know what we are doing, like you don't know. So I'm very happy, like maybe to have like a teammate like that we know, like okay, we should protect. If we score one goal, we should protect this goal, we should win this game. So it's so hard, like to find like that kind of team in this league. Like we have like a lot of teams, but our team, I think we are united. Like we work hard, like maybe even the coach will tell us, even if we there also we discuss ourselves, like oh, say, we should do this, like to protect this goal, like maybe not consider any goal, like we should win this game. We need 3 points to put in our bag, like go back like to our home, like that.
I think too, to go off that with Temwa being tied for Golden Boot right now, she doesn't have to score as many goals because we're keeping it out the back of the net. Say it was 1-1, Temwa would be like, all right, I got to go get a hat trick now. So, you know, it puts a little less pressure on her. But let me give you another Temwa stat. She broke her speed record making a defensive run in one of our games. Like, she set a new speed sprinting back, and that's the mentality on this team. So when you mentioned defenders and our keeper, yes, keeping the goals out, but they're sometimes just sitting there, defending in the box, whereas everybody else in front of them is doing a lot of the work, the shifting, the dropping. Like Temwa's our highest player in the attack, but she's also one of our lowest players in our defense. So that's the work and that's the standard we have on this team. So yes, it looks like all glory when we show up with these wins at the end of the weekend, but all the work throughout the week and throughout the game of running, like if you don't want to do that work, you probably don't want to come to the Current.
I mean, Lo, building off of that, I think off the ball movement is one of those things that is really hard to give credit for, but for KC is one of the strengths, right? And so maybe could you talk about that and the structure that has been put into place and how, I mean, you just talked about it. People know what their role is, they know what the structure is, but I mean, do you think that there's some magical sauce or is it just everybody's bought in?
It's absolutely everyone is bought in. I think they have the mentality, they have the buy-in, but we also have a game plan and clarity for players and what their roles in. And I think, maybe that's another difference from last year versus this year. Last year, it was all new learning for everyone. We had new staff, we had new players. We were all trying to figure it out as we went. Whereas now that we have that year behind us and under our belt, this year, it's just like you either get it or if you don't. If you get it, you'll be on the field. If not, well, you're going to be practicing it for the next until you get it. So that's I don't know, that's maybe another credit to how we are on the field.
Yeah, it's like you watch and learn or you execute. I can see that. Temwa, I skipped over another congratulations when we opened the show. You finished 17th in the Ballon d'Or rankings when that ceremony happened on Monday. Congratulations on that too. Congratulations on your nomination, which came even before the rankings. What does this mean? I mean, Ballon d'Or given to the player voted best in the world, and you are on that list.
It means a lot to me. I started playing soccer a long time ago. I play in Sweden, I play in China. I've never been like in the middle of Ballon d'Or. But since I come to this team, like they show me love. Like this city show me love. Like so happy I'm able to be in this team because like now like maybe I'm list of 30 players in the whole world. It's not a joke. It's, like to me, it's a big achievement. Like to finish in position 17 because I just think this team like they will support me a lot.
Yeah, Lo, can you talk to us about that support? And I'm sure everybody's watching the ceremony and ready to hype her up. But like, what's the team vibe like in terms of trying to, get individual players their flowers?
It's so easy to give, like Temwa deserves all the flowers, like, and that's the perfect word for it is deserves, because she does all the work, right? She works on and off the ball. She works for her team. Yes, she's our best goal scorer, but she's also one of our best defenders, one of our best teammates. Like, we keep expecting her to get awards like this because that's just who she is. It's like, if she wasn't up for a nomination, we would be so disappointed in not her, obviously, the organization that does the voting and everything, because she got her first year in our league. She got MVP of arguably the best league in the world. So I thought she would have been higher, but again, I don't know how the voting works, and we don't have enough time to talk about that.
No, we don't.
But we can invite you back for a separate episode on it because it's a conversation that needs to be had. I agree.
I will go get my tea.
Yes, brew it. Well, congratulations again on your nomination, Temwa, putting Kansas City Current on the map, putting Malawi on the map for global women's football. And thank both of you for joining us and sharing a little bit about this season's incredible journey with Kansas City. Best of luck for the rest of the season, and you're both welcome back anytime.
Yeah, I feel like we will be crossing paths at some point in this postseason for sure. We are now joined by KC Current General Manager Caitlin Carducci. Caitlin, how are you, and have you recovered from this weekend's celebrations, first and foremost?
Doing wonderful. Excited to be here with you guys. I did recover because as a not an elite professional athlete, I needed to temper my rehydration at the end of the game. And then also, like, we have 5 games left, so there's a clear time limit on the celebrating, but I did enjoy a glass of champagne. I did enjoy a lot of sweaty hugs on the field, and now we're back to work.
That sounds like such a well-balanced and responsible celebration. And to your point, there are still plenty of games to be played, so that makes sense. Caitlin, can you talk to us about when the journey to the Shield began for the Current? Is it something that, you know, the team had sort of circled on its list of priorities from the start of the season? Is it something that sort of crystallized into a reality midway through? What's the journey been like?
I think, you know, every year, every team in this league goes into it saying, we're going to win the Shield and we're going to win the championship. And very kindly, if you don't have that mindset, I'm not really sure what you're doing here. So there's that. So we came in saying we are going to try to win everything all the time. And I would say that our focus on winning the Shield wasn't necessarily like the trophy itself. It was what it brings, which is additional home games, a top seed, you know, having a slightly, you know, a more advantageous path to your ultimate goal. And so for us, that's the way that we looked at it, was we want to be the number 1 seed because we want people to have to come to our home and play at our stadium in front of our fans. And so that was our main focus. And then that should allow us to hopefully find our way to San Jose with a little bit easier path.
I mean, speaking of that home stadium, obviously the atmosphere there, I've been to a couple games now at CPKC Stadium, and it's truly something special. But having to watch the championship last year and not be in it, I mean, how much is that in the back of your mind at any given time?
All the time. And not in a way that's like bitter or anything of that nature. When we lost to Orlando, I was like steadfast in, I am not going to that game. I'm not going to that game. Like, I don't need to be there. Like, our stadium staff can handle it. Our front office staff can handle it. Like, Vlaco and all of our coaches were like, we're going to go scout that weekend. And then Chris and Angie were like, hi, would you come to the game and sit with us? And I had the realization of like, they're just as heartbroken as I am, and they have to be there. And so I can, you know, suck it up and show up. So went to the game. It was lovely. I was happy that Kansas City showed up. I was happy there was still a lot of teal in the stands, even though it wasn't on the field. But in the 87th minute, I left because I was like, I cannot actively watch someone win the trophy that I want so badly on my field. So yeah. So no, that's something that's driven us. And I know the players felt the exact same way. And, you know, Lo mentioned it, I think, on Saturday, where it was like, look, we were heartbroken that we didn't get to raise a trophy in front of our fans. And so we were able to check that box. And then now the focus is hopefully win another trophy.
From more of a neutral, objective perspective, we would all agree that it was still a pretty successful season for the Current. And so when you think about the building blocks from previous seasons that sort of led to the success the Current has had, starting with last season and certainly with this one, how would you sort of define those building blocks?
Defining them is a very interesting way to put that, if I'm being honest. But I think it's the culture that we instilled. And when I say we, I want to make sure that all of that credit goes to Vlaco coming in and stating what the expectations were going to be, and the players fully buying in on that. You know, like, we can all have our goals and our ideals and everything else, but if you don't have full buy-in from every single person, you know, in the locker room, on the coaching staff, in the front office, you're not going to get anywhere. And so one of the things that I think they being our players have done so well is they've bought into what our principles are, and they protect it. You know, they will police themselves as far as what needs to be done and how we're going to do it. So I think those were one of the pieces where we were happy with what we had accomplished in year one. You know, not meeting our ultimate goals, but knowing that there were a lot of pieces that we could fix, you know, as far as, hey, we were 1 point away from being the second seed, and we were a couple 90+ minute goals away of dropping points from that not being an issue. And then again, being the 2 seed versus the 4 seed and all of those types of things. So we knew we were close, but we weren't satisfied. And so coming into this year, not resting on our laurels and making sure that we tightened up the things that we needed to tighten up. And then watching that happen on the field, it's been really encouraging to see how our team bought in and made those changes and continues to drive forward.
I think the culture piece, I mean, it's been such a thread this whole season, but even in this podcast episode alone, I mean, both Lo and Temwa talked about it. But I want to maybe spin and ask you how you approach that work of contributing to the culture, about how your role maybe still shapes, even though it's not necessarily like a coaching, day in, day out with the players, how you're able to approach that work in contributing to this culture that has been such a key part of this team's success.
Yeah, I think I make sure that, at least personally, I'm holding myself to the exact same ideals that we hold our players to. So, it's the accountability, it's communication, it's not whining and, moaning about things that don't go our way. But like, there's been moments where I've realized that I've not met expectations of my own or of the club, as far as things like, hey, I missed that email, or I wasn't on top of that, and you guys found out about it from someone else because I didn't have the chance to tell you, and acknowledging that, like, hey, I can be better. So I think doing that is super helpful. I think the other piece too is, that's, we can find the best pieces, skill, talent wise on the field. And obviously we have an insanely talented team, but a lot of that comes into who you are as a person off the field and how you fit into not only the team environment, but just culturally the Kansas City expectations of what a professional team in the city is and does and how they portray themselves.
Caitlin, you mentioned Vlatko's influence the past couple of years, the expectations that he came in with and communicated. Talk to us about how the two of you have worked together to build out this squad of, as you said, insanely talented players. I'm struck by the composition of it.
I trust him so holistically in his, just soccer mastery, as far as he knows he can watch a player and figure out where they're going to fit in. He can, see them and what their small things that they can do to take themselves to the next level. And then, so I fully rely on him from his, again, soccer knowledge. I've grown up in the game. I've done a lot of different things, but like, if you put our resumes together, it's just why actually, that's just insulting to me. And arguably insulting to him to look at, his like US Soccer Pro license and my like D license I don't even have a D license. I think it was like an F license. But what I tried to
give out F licenses.
Yeah, when I have an F license and a 4v4 license. So okay. Cheers to those. So I am qualified to coach like 6-year-olds. So so knowing that, where I'm able to come in is look at, again, the composition of the squad. Like, hey, what are our numbers looking like? What does it look like from a salary cap standpoint? Our international spots? Like, how do we want to look at this not only in 2025, but like, what does our 4-year roster plan look like as people roll off, either due to, age, form, cost? How are we replacing them? Those are the pieces where I'm going to sit there and talk to him about it. But I absolutely am not walking in and saying like, hey, we need a goalkeeper. Like, he knows we need a goalkeeper. Like we all knew at the end of last year that all of our goalkeepers were off contract and we needed to replace them. And so that's the conversations that I'm having with him, as far as what percentage of the cap is that taking up and how long of those contracts are going to be, and how I can help put the pieces together so then that way he has the most talented roster that then him and our amazing coaching staff can create a successful game day environment through the week with that group of players.
Caitlin, before we let you get out of here and get back to work, and we know that there's still so much season left to go, but maybe a bigger picture question that we can end on, just how do you want this version of the Kansas City Current, this team, to be remembered in the NWSL books and in women's soccer in general?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to go down as one of the best teams, if not the best team. Because again, if we're not striving for that, then I'm not sure what we're doing here. But I really am proud of how we do it, how we make sure that the players are supported, how we make sure the coaches are supported, how our owners make sure that we have everything we could possibly need and then some. and just the way that, we've been able to enjoy each other. And again, we've said it so many times, but like, we just have fun. So, and what's more fun than winning? So I think, winning and having fun, if we can put those two things together and, hopefully lift another trophy, then this will be a successful project until we turn the page and see if we can run it back next year.
And that's a whole other conversation that I'm sure we will get to at some point. But Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we'll be watching the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we are so pleased to be joined by Kansas City Current owners Angie and Chris Long. How are the both of you doing, first of all? And second of all, thanks for joining us.
We're doing great. I'm so happy to be joining you. So maybe if we can start with both of you just like walking through some emotions for this weekend. Obviously, I feel like I've talked to you a million times since you joined the league, but this is the first, like let's set the Summer Cup aside. Not that we should minimize the Summer Cup, but like the Shield is a big trophy to win, and it arguably is the biggest trophy you can win in the NWSL. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. But Chris, why don't you start us off? Like what were you feeling as the confetti's coming down, as the players are celebrating? What's going through your mind?
Pure joy. It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears the last, 5 years, this being the 5th season. And to walk around in awe of just the smiles on everyone's face, players, coaches, our partners, our supporter section, you name it, people just felt this sort of jubilation that, wow, like this is a huge accomplishment. And this is a moment to stop in our tracks and celebrate a little bit.
Angie, how about you?
It was so fun. It was a blast. And for the fans, it was incredible. I feel like all of us, our entire organization, the group of people that have worked so hard for this team, 100 people in the front office and stadium staff, and obviously all of the technical staff and players. And it's been a long time coming, and it takes a lot to get to this point. And it took everybody doing it together. And, it's the team, and then the team behind the team, and the team behind the team behind the team. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think one of the images that will stand out for me is when Lo was just completely covered in that like string confetti.
Oh my God.
Almost like a Loch Ness monster coming out of the river.
Ground giving snow angels.
Yes.
In the streamers.
Yeah.
It was
so iconic. So good.
The best part, like none of that's pre-scripted. That is just
I have no doubt.
Moment, emotion, just making sure that, they're showing like what it means to them and then doing it in their own way. And I think Lo just epitomized the pure joy of that particular win.
Totally.
How could we ever doubt Lo?
Solidifying it
right.
with the Temwa header. Because is that not just...
It was almost like a blackout bingo card of a day. Like, what didn't you experience in that game? Which says a lot because this team has, of course, experienced and accomplished so much this season. And of course, in this league, there is an ongoing debate about the weight of an NWSL Shield and the weight of an NWSL championship.
Actually, it's really heavy. So I know that's not the weight you meant.
Oh, well, that's good to know because it has been upgraded.
It was like beautifully heavy, like meaningfully heavy.
That's good to know. That's what the players deserve. I was really happy to see that trophy got upgraded. But assuming that heading into this season, the goal was always to win both the Shield and eventually a championship. As owners of this team, how do you sort of think about those two accomplishments, even from like an investment standpoint? How is a Shield different from a championship from your perspective?
We want to win both. You said it right the first time. We really want to win both. One is so much of the season. It takes so many people and I think so much effort across a really long period of time. But, to win in the final sprint in such an kind of an American sport way is also incredibly important. It's been fun to be able to talk to people that maybe aren't as much soccer culture and maybe a little more American culture about what it does mean. it makes it more meaningful since it qualifies you for the CONCACAF competition, which then can qualify you for the very first Club World Cup. So I think there's winning the Shield. I think there's winning the Shield in the midst of it being a qualifier for the biggest global competition that we'll ever have, right? So
I think quite simply, winning is a habit, and momentum begets momentum. So being able to have that first box check, which was super special, puts us on a better path to then get the championship. And we will, honestly, I think you look at the team, the front office, everyone around, no one has stopped working. People are working even harder, if that makes sense. Even though you'd think there'd be this lull for a little bit, it's gone the other direction. So I think it's just a powerful trajectory that we're on that, does start with winning the Shield.
Step one, right? This is step one. Job's not done yet.
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to hear that a lot out of KC between over the next 5 weeks as we get into the playoffs, as now you get to host potentially 2 playoff games at CPKC Stadium, which I'm sure is also a lovely boost. Before we get into some bigger picture stuff, though, about KC Current and your vision for this team and even the NWSL as a whole, I want to take a step back real quick, too, and ask you about your relationship with Vlatko Andonovski, obviously bringing him in to lead this team, and then Caitlin Carducci coming in as general manager. But with Vlatko, I think this is maybe going to be one of the big storylines of this year in terms of, he's obviously, I think, one of the leading candidates for Coach of the Year. But what have you seen from him? And does this feel like the inevitable consequence of your hiring of him? And Angie, we can start with you.
I mean, I think the organization, the dedication, the focus on details, the understanding of the marathon that we're all in, the ability to, help us build a top in class organization that, frankly, again, step one, right, was winning the Shield this year, but laying the foundation for what we want this club to be about for, years and years and years. He has been a fantastic. We really think of him as a partner in helping build this together, right? I mean, it takes so many pieces, but to have had someone with the experience and ability to manage the number of people and players and everything that it takes to do this, because it's not a one-person job, right? You've really got to be able to build out the entire team around that. His partnership with our president, Raven, and the understanding of everything that being a top in class club means, not only on the field but off the field and with the brand. I think that's another way that it's just been great.
Chris, how about you? What do you see? I've known Vlatko since he joined the league. We've been talking a lot about that celebration that he had with Temwa after her header goal. Also, this potential, there's been a lot of chatter about turning his hair blue. But what are you seeing just in terms of how much fun he's having right at the moment?
Oh, I mean, it's we come from our initial background, right, is in investment management and investing, and there's typical work hard, play hard, have fun mentality with the people that do it best. And I'd say on the first part, his hard work and preparation is unmatched. I mean, we've seen some of the hardest workers in the world who are all in every moment, every day. He is at the top of that list. I mean, he does not stop. So from a work hard perspective, fantastic. From a having fun perspective, I don't have a benchmark for that, but I will tell you, he just told us recently, this is the happiest that he has been in his career. And that stands out to us as being something pretty special, just given he's obviously had a ton of success, all over the place. And, seeing the fact that, what I conclude is the best player in the world in Temwa Chawinga, she gets her first header goal and she immediately wants to run over and give Vlatko a huge hug. That's pretty emblematic of what I think has been a fun environment for everybody involved.
Yeah, I will say too, part of building that culture where for a group that is so locked in, like so dedicated, it's very like Midwest gritty fight. They have so much joy, right? Watching our team play, like on the field and off the field, I think you see the joy in the players, and obviously that moment with Temwa shows how tied in the technical team is, I think, to supporting that joy. And I think that's really important. It's a long season, and it's hard at times, and to work as hard as everyone does, to still be able to do it with such joy is, I think, a gift to all of us, to the whole club, to the city.
It does seem like a combination that makes the team incredibly difficult to beat. And Angie, you've already mentioned the FIFA Club World Cup coming up for the women. You've mentioned CONCACAF. When you look at the success that KC has had this season, the success that built on even last season, and you put this team in the context of global women's football, it does sound like you are already looking for ways to sort of grow this team's footprint beyond the U.S. with tournaments like the ones that you've mentioned. But what is sort of the picture of that in terms of what the next steps look like to make KC into a truly global brand for women's football?
I mean, I think, to be honest, I think we've already been doing that for the last few years, right? Like putting, the stadium, if that doesn't put us on the map for the place where anyone in the world would want to play and compete and, make a statement that like women's football is as big a deal as anything. And the investment that we're willing to make in the long-term viability and strength of this club, I think, you don't do that with like the mindset of, oh, we just want to be the best amongst 12 or 14 or 16 teams, right? Mm-hmm. You do that knowing globally what is happening in this game. And, but at the same token, I think we have a lot to learn from some of the best global organizations. And how do you think about putting together a team, not just for 1 year or 2 years, but multiple years, and what that takes on the development side of players, creating the right environment in your first team, but then creating the right pyramid underneath it to continue to develop players. So where we are in the world and how we can compete and stack up is really important. I mean, that's a definite goal of ours.
Yeah, I think building off of that too, I feel like there's been so much chatter of late around the salary cap. I mean, everybody's been talking about Alyssa Thompson going to Chelsea. I think there's always going to be a conversation about what league is the best league and all that. But do you feel like you have all of the ingredients here in the U.S., in the NWSL, in order to put yourself up in that conversation with an Arsenal who just won Champions League, or Barcelona who have that sort of sustained success across multiple seasons and, keep winning major awards and all that kind of, like, do you feel like you have all those pieces? Chris, maybe we can swap over to you for a second.
Yeah, I certainly do. I'd say what, we've shown, you can actually take the numbers. Look at our financial numbers. Number one revenue producing, women's sports team in the world, at least as far as I can tell and far as I read. But if you look beyond the numbers, I think what is even more telling is, you look at the environment we've operated in. We've been able to invest in community, invest in people, which is also, by the way, that's the front office too. It's not just the players on the pitch, it's technical staff, front office, and of course, even the stadium staff. And then finally, I think that you look at the competitive landscape. I mean, we have the most amazing, if you think about a youth pipeline by numbers, of anywhere in the world in the United States. So we have this ability to, if we do it right and build the best environment, to continue to be a perennially competing team with anyone in the world. So I think we've done it on the business side. I think we're doing it on the soccer side. And I think the place we're in the NWSL is, allowing us to do that.
I'd just say, I mean, there's amazing global clubs out there, right? And like I said before, we have a lot to learn from them, but I think we aren't going to just copy them. I think we need to take advantage of what is our competitive advantage. So, I think Barcelona has a different competitive advantage than Chelsea, and Kansas City has a different competitive advantage than those two. And that is what we're really focused on, which is why we say, development piece of it, harnessing the talent that exists within the United States, but then obviously we have fantastic internationals on our team as well. I think we've got to build what we can build the best, and when we think of Kansas City, we have the stadium, our investment in staff, the fact, frankly, that we are a team where it's the women's team. Right, we don't have a men and a women's team to support. Everything that we're doing goes into the women. So our women's side gets every first resource, and I think that's a competitive advantage in as much as the pipeline of talent in the United States is, and our ability just to invest in the staff to develop players means that we're a magnet for the players that we want to have come here.
I would just finish with, we're running our own race. I truly believe that, and I'm an average marathoner, average half marathoner, but you always learn that you run your own race, right? But you're always, in any context, cognizant of what's around you, and so we're paying attention, trying to take best practices. But I think that with consistent investment, with a focus on the women's side, very intentionally and deliberately, and then also taking that blueprint and bringing it to a place like Kerr in Copenhagen, where we feel very confident in what we have there as well, using a lot of the same similar frameworks. So I really believe that we have something pretty special, and we could make it the best global brand in women's football.
You've mentioned some international superstar players who play for the Currents, so obviously we need to talk about Temwa Chawinga.
Absolutely.
A player who is also, you could argue, running her own race in terms of her performances, not only this season, but last season as well. She's looking to repeat a lot of those achievements already. And she was also recently nominated for a Ballon d'Or, ranked 17th, best in the world, despite playing for a national team that has not made it into any international competitions yet, which means this is solely weighing on the back of her performance with KC. So the question is, and for both of you, what does Temwa mean to the Kansas City Current? And specifically, what did this Ballon d'Or nomination mean in the context of the conversation that we've been having about this international footprint and Kansas City's global influence on women's football? Angie, we can start with you.
I mean, obviously so well deserved. I can't believe she was only 17th and not higher, frankly. But she's an absolutely incredible player to watch. If you see her, when you see her on TV, but especially even in person, she's like nobody I've ever seen. Wow. And it's a combination of, her speed, her ability to score goals in the moments when it really matters, let alone her ability to score goals all the time, but especially when it really matters, her effort on defense and off the ball. I mean, the number of people that come to our games because they've got to see that Temwa Chawinga again is
special.
It's really special. But mostly, like, if you haven't talked to her, and maybe you guys have, but you've probably heard interviews with her, she's so humble and she's so focused on how her efforts contribute to the team. It is amazing. Her attitude is, again, like nothing I've ever seen.
And I really think, I've said it before, I think she's the best player in the world for a variety of reasons, but I think if you don't agree with that stance, I think you have to agree with the fact that she has grown so much as a player in the last 2 seasons. It's crazy from when we saw her in spring training, preseason, to what we see today, I think is a fraction of what we're going to see tomorrow. She is just getting started.
I mean, I think we're all ready to keep watching Temwa Chawinga in the NWSL. I think that's not a hardship here. Like, I mean, technically Tamerra and I get paid to do it, but I think we'd probably do it for free too, easily. Chris and Angie, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we could just keep talking forever and ever, but we appreciate it. Congrats again on the Shield, and I'm sure we will cross paths again as this season progresses. So good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you both so much.
And thank you for all you do for women's football.
Meg, I feel like we got a pretty rich, 360-degree perspective on where the Current are at right now between Lo and Temwa, Caitlin Carducci, the Longs. What stood out the most for you? Or are there any sort of threads that sort of connected all of their insight?
Yeah, I think what is really interesting for me is I go back to the last couple of championships, whether that's San Diego, whether that's, with Orlando and KC. And I just keep thinking about the vibes around teams like that Gotham year where everybody felt just so locked in. And Orlando last year was kind of in that same mental space. And I mean, to be fair, the Spirit were too, but KC, I think because there's been a pretty good amount of consistency, right? And it's the same technical staff. It's a lot of the same players. You have a player like Lo LaBonta in that locker room kind of, I mean, she is the beating heart of this team in so many ways. And yeah, the vibes feel like they've got that special sauce that's going to carry them through a postseason. And then I think the one thing that I want to ask you, Tamerra, I remember Claire Watkins saying at the start of the season, when we're all kind of trying to suss out who's a MVP candidate, that Temwa could be the first back-to-back MVP that we've ever seen. Now, Sam Kerr has had one NWSL MVP twice, hilariously for two different teams in two different seasons, not consecutive. But do you I mean, if I'm using my own MVP formula right now, for me, the answer is Temwa.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying in our group chat the other day that maybe at the start of the season, when the table felt a little bit more evenly balanced, there were some other candidates, and it's a combination of, I think, as you mentioned at the top of the show, some dips in form from teams that maybe started the season really strong, and also the Current just entering a crazy second gear. I think, especially in the second half of the season, there's been sort of a stretching. With Temwa too, I mean, it's hard to think of another player right now who could challenge her for that title. I mean, it was really interesting to hear Lo speak so much about, and Chris and Angie Long as well, Temwa's defensive efforts. To be leading the Golden Boot race and to have your own teammates, to have owners talk about how you work to win the ball back when that's not even at the top of the list of job responsibilities, is crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Though honestly makes perfect sense with the Vlatko Andonovski team, because you think about the Lynn Williams effect with the USWNT, that it's that exact sort of profile of player where they're doing it all. And so I do think, it's going to be so interesting to watch this play out, not just from a Golden Boot race perspective, but just, Temwa Chawinga deserves to be one of the primary faces of the NWSL. And so I hope as this run of form continues, as the postseason comes in, figuring out ways to boost that national profile and to make her, a star in the U.S., right? That is a project for the NWSL to really, really start sinking its teeth into as November gets closer and closer.
100%. And, 5 games left in the regular season. Knockout football in the postseason is a whole different beast. I still think that the Current are the team to beat. And yes, considering the chaos quotient, of course, anything can happen. But from what we've heard today, certainly from what we've seen this season, it's theirs to lose. I'm just going to be straight up and say it. But it makes me nonetheless very excited to see how the rest of the season goes, both the regular and the post. So you know that we will be here seated and ready to discuss all the things. But it was really cool, especially on the back of their NWSL Shield, to be able to talk to so many members of that team. So shout out to the Current for making themselves available to us because we enjoyed all the conversations. Whew, and that's our show this week. Meg, I feel like there are still so many things that you and I need to catch up on.
No.
So many things I want to get your thoughts on because, woo, it has been
You just need to give me a checklist and I'll just send you
Yes.
voice memos on each one in WhatsApp. I'll be in
Happy
like full
to.
auntie mode. Like, okay, here's my
I love
2-minute
it.
voice memo about this.
Yeah, maybe on one of your like nocturnal nights. But I guess that might wake the baby. We'll figure it out.
He sleeps through. So the dog barking, not so much. Me talking generally.
Okay, good to
So,
know.
yep.
Yeah, questions incoming. But thank you everyone for listening to our show. And like I said, it has been a busy time. Won't hold it against you if you missed out on anything, but I will let you know, if you didn't already, that The Athletic and Yahoo Sports have partnered to deliver the best coverage of women's sports. For those of you following the W, also a spicy time as we head toward the championship. Make sure that you check out the Women's Sports Hub to catch up on that. Women's soccer, all women's sports at sports.yahoo.com/women-sports. As always, we'll make sure to put that link in the show notes. And again, special thank you to our guests, Lo LaBonta, Temwa Chawinga, Caitlin Carducci, Angie and Chris Long for making time to speak with us. I am Tamerra. This has been Full Time, and I will be somewhere, everyone's talking about, it's fall, saying goodbye to summer. It was like 95 degrees yesterday here in Sacramento. So I am still in summer mode personally. I'm trying to go paddleboarding this weekend. And so you might be able to catch me doing that on Instagram. I'll
Man.
get back to blue sky at some point.
Yeah, it is straight up fall in Burlington, Vermont. So we are about to hit, like, all my powers are returning. We went to like a little pumpkin patch.
Not powers.
Right before I came back to work. So like I am in full fall mode.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm just surviving, but I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. Not a lot of like you have to be on Close Friends to get baby photos, but hit me up if you want to see something. Yeah. And if someone can explain to me why the Liberty let go Sandy Frondell, like I'm ready. Like obviously I'm paying attention to what no off season is saying, but someone make that make sense. Thank you.
Yeah,
in advance.
questions that need answers for sure. This show is not possible without podcast producer Theo Lloyd Hughes, video producer Leah Griffin, and executive producer Emily Olsen. Thank you as always for listening. Welcome back, Meg, one more time, and we will see you all soon.